I do want to talk about the 11 sports that Stanford cut. We talked a lot just now about all the built-in advantages that Stanford has, and one of them was that massive athletic department, those Olympic sports, that commitment to excellence. And they claimed that that same commitment to excellence was one of the reasons why they cut those 11 sports: men's fencing, women's fencing, field hockey, lightweight rowing, men's rowing, co-ed sailing, women's sailing, squash. We got synchro, men's volleyball, and wrestling, all cut in the name of excellence, they said, because these programs weren't performing up to par. What, King, was the real reason that that this decision was made?
I think Stanford wanted to be like everybody else. If you look at the other programs with lots of sports, with the comparable level of sports as what Stanford was sustaining for a very long time, it's Harvard, Princeton, Brown. Ohio State is a lone exception, but Cornell, Yale. It's all Ivy League schools that do have very big endowments, very big budgets like Stanford. And so they want to support lots of sports. They want to support athletic excellence across the department. I know all we've talked about is football today, but we know Stanford is not all about football. Stanford's the best athletic department in the nation because of everything else. No offense to the football team. Because of those national championships year in and year out. Because of those Directors' Cups year in and year out. And although the sports that were cut weren't necessarily the most successful, they were an integral part of what makes Stanford athletics great. And I just am absolutely gutted to see those go. And it just shows that Stanford is going to be like everybody else. They're just going to be another power conference school that's only going to support football, men's basketball, maybe women's basketball, maybe one or two other sports. But by and large, they're going to put their eggs in the revenue baskets and forget about these other sports that have provided opportunities, entertainment, and really a lifestyle for so many athletes and for so many fans and for so many people in the community for so long. And you and I both follow a lot of Stanford sports, and we know that they have very, very dedicated fan bases beyond just football. It's absolutely spineless of Stanford to cut these sports and not act like it's going to affect the overall community, and to couch it in the language of we're pursuing excellence by getting rid of some of the things that make us excellent in the first place.
Yeah, that was the worst part. I know you were at the women's volleyball national championship last year. I was at the women's soccer national championship. We were both there. We know how much some of these smaller programs means. The fact that they're cutting some of these programs, not those two, but others that were really integral to the community, just horrible. And also the fact that they did it amid this pandemic, they're saying like it was a cost-cutting measure. It's $8 million a year. I'm not gonna say that that's not a significant amount of money. I'm not gonna be that person. But Stanford didn't reach out to donors. They didn't ask for anybody to possibly step in, which is absurd. We know for sure that Stanford could have gotten those donors. Since then, we've seen a Save Wrestling petition, a Save Men's Volleyball. We've seen all of these people in the community wanting to save these programs, from alums and from people locally and across the nation, just tangentially associated to Stanford. People want to see these sports. They would have provided for these sports to be able to be maintained. And Stanford already had a budget deficit. Stanford was projecting $12 million of loss this year. So their absurd insinuation that they won't let the main campus step in for them is just false, because they were going to have that already. So just the fact that they were going to save a little bit of money doesn't it doesn't help the fact that they were already losing so much. And now there's obviously going to be a lot more because of the results of this pandemic. That's going to double it to, they say, 25 million. And then we don't even know what happens if there's no football. Yes, sure, there are money considerations, but Stanford pursues excellence. Stanford has $28 billion of endowment, and they're not going to be able to support these 11 sports. Stanford's just wrong here, plainly.
You know, riddle me this, Daniel. If Stanford doesn't play sports to make money, then why are you getting rid of these sports that are such a huge part of the athletic department? I think they're really just giving away the game here. It is clear that Stanford wants to be like everybody else, and they want to be a revenue-producing athletic department. And you know what? I don't even think that's realistic. We've been in Stanford Stadium on big game days. And not just big game, but, you know, games against ranked opponents, games where Stanford was ranked facing a ranked opponent. You still don't fill up the stadium. It's not the same level of institutional support as you're going to get at other schools. But I think that was something Stanford has taken pride in the past, is being able to have the most successful athletic department in the nation without having the same kind of capital as your peers. And, you know, it's just it really hurts that they made this decision now. I mean, this is a time where people need good news, not bad news. This was news that completely blindsided the athletes involved. They're waking up to this news in the middle of a week. And of all things I expected Stanford to do, I never expected them to cut this many sports. Maybe one or two here and there. Maybe you're trimming the fat, so to speak, to try to make that budget work. I would have never thought they would have gone for a complete cleaning house. And you know, the Stanford community is going to look different from this point forward. I think it's hard to argue that. I mean, you and I both are on campus. I mean, I wish we were right now, but we've been on campus for years. You know that you see a lot of athletes walking around campus, and they're very integrated into the Stanford community. It is not a school where the athletes are a separate entity from the students themselves. And now you are losing a huge portion of that athlete community, and a portion that I think these are sports that are underrepresented around the nation. Opportunity at Stanford is about as good as it gets, and I think you're going to kill these sports at the grassroots level when now there's far less incentive for these kids playing it in high school and even earlier. I mean, now they don't know that they have that opportunity waiting for them on the other side. And, you know, I've been following closely the Save Stanford men's volleyball movement, and I think they've done admirable work. A shout out to everybody working on that project and for all these other sports. And you just look at how the volleyball community has rallied around Stanford men's volleyball because it's such a huge program, and not just the Stanford community, but the broader volleyball world. It's a big part of what makes USA volleyball successful. And you're getting rid of that because at the end of the day, you just want to be good at football like the rest of the conferences. And you know what? I just can't settle for that. I want Stanford to be different. And it turns out they just want to be like everybody else.
Yeah, what makes